Hey y'all, welcome to the third edition of the Birmingham Real Estate Update Special Corona Edition. We are keeping track of the statistics in the Birmingham real estate market every week for as long as this Corona lockdown continues. So we're staying on top of the statistics in the market, and then we're also going to look at what sources of stimulus or relief are out there for business owners, realtors, investors, anyone, really anyone can benefit from some of the things that are in the stimulus, and it's changing daily. So I'm going to share some of the sources that I've been using to stay on top of things. I'm trying to at least fill you in weekly when I do these videos, but there's just so much coming out every day that there's a lot of different ways to stay on top of this. So I did a contest last week for anyone who shared my video on Facebook to enter to win a $50 gift card to their favorite local restaurant. And we had a winner, George Gray. So he's got to let me know what his favorite restaurant is, and we'll get him that. This week, we're going to change it up. If you subscribe to my YouTube channel, then you'll be entered to win. I think I've only got like 10 subscribers right now, so you've got a good chance if you go and subscribe on my YouTube channel, and then I'll just pick somebody from that group next week. And I'll keep doing that until like stimulus checks start actually coming. So who knows how long that'll be, as we'll talk about a little bit, but that's, that's my plan. So let's get started on the statistics for the last week. I've kind of got a chart here with the statistics really for the 3 weeks since this whole thing began. And what we see this week is that there were significantly less closings, about half. And that could be significant. I don't think that necessarily means that we're seeing a total drop off in closings, and I'll tell you a little bit more about why I think that is. But we're not seeing. I mean, there's still plenty of transactions that are getting financed. These are all the cash transactions, 44 out of 220, so there's still plenty of finance transactions getting done. And if you compare it to last year, the same week last year, there was actually kind of a drop off from the week before then. So this could just be, just normal course of business. I usually don't track these statistics on a weekly basis, so I don't know how much variation you tend to see, especially seasonally. So, and then if you look at active listings, we've actually got more listings have come online. So we had some sales, but we've got a buildup of listings. So people are still listing properties. And we've got actually pretty much about the same as far as the number of properties that are contingent, active break clause, or pending. So these are properties that were listed, they've gone under contract, and that's really holding up pretty solid. And I will tell you from talking to a lot of realtors in the last week, asking them, what they're seeing in the market, what are they seeing with their clients, and they're, for the most part, very active. I'm talking to my transaction coordinator who handles transactions for a couple other agents, and she has tons of new contracts. Closing attorneys, mortgage people are all still working. Everyone is working at a little bit different, just tweaking the way they operate as far as minimizing human contact. But honestly, everyone, it seems to be, is still listing properties, putting them under contract, closing, and getting the business of real estate done. So I think that's promising, and we'll see how that continues to unfold. I did want to bring up the statistics for March. These are the price statistics for March of 2020, which is last month, versus March of 2019. Real estate's very seasonal, so you want to compare year over year in the same month. So it's actually really interesting what we saw. In 2019, we had 2,547 listed properties. Those are properties that got listed. That decreased 9.07% in 2020 to 2,316. And that's, I don't think that's anything to really be alarmed about, especially because the number of properties that were sold went from, there was, almost no change. About 1,700 sold last year, about 1,700 sold this year. So very small decrease in that. So I'm not really too alarmed by those numbers. What is really interesting is the average sale price from 2019 to 2020 is actually up 11.5%. So you're seeing a lot of appreciation. And me and Brian Tripp, up until December of last year, we were doing the Birmingham market update on his podcast, on REI Live podcast. And we kind of, dropped the ball on that with a couple things that we had going on. And so I just wanted to look back at the February numbers and see if this was just a big jump or if February looked kind of the same. And for the sale price, February actually looked about the same, up 12%. So these are really big jumps. And I'm seeing that, on some properties versus last year, I am seeing a pretty hot market and a lot of competition for properties. So pretty strong jump. That's one of the strongest jumps that we've seen in the 2 years that we've been doing these monthly updates. And then if you also look at, just wanted to see if there was any drop off in the sale price versus the list price. And it's actually gotten more, sales prices have gotten closer to the list price on average from last year to this year. So no drop off in competition. Days on market are down last year to this year. So as far as the March numbers, we're really still seeing a very strong market, competitive for the month as a whole, which we were really in this quarantine deal for about, about half the month. So we'll see how April shakes out, and I'll bring you those numbers as well when it comes time for that. But March ended up, pretty much right in line and looking like a very good month. So at this point, I want to kind of shift gears and switch into some of the stimulus, some of the opportunities for realtors, investors, small business owners. Obviously, this quarantine thing is affecting all of us in a negative way. And there's some things that the government has come out with trying to help. And what we're seeing is that something that sounded too good to be true, as it usually turns out, it is too good to be true. Last week I talked about the $10,000, it's essentially a forgivable loan. It's essentially a grant directly from SBA that you would get regardless of whether you actually take their loan or get declined for their loan. They came out, I think it was yesterday, and clarified that they will be distributing that based on the number of employees you have. So if you have a company with one employee, you would get $1,000 of forgivable loan. If you have up to 10 employees, you would have $10,000. So they do $1,000 per employee, which is not as easy. It's not kind of the free money thing that they originally made it sound like. The way the law is written is not really the way that it's being implemented, but that's kind of to be expected. They just had a ton of demand, and they're having to kind of figure out as they go how to implement this and how to get the money to the people that do need it. So those loans still could be good. My understanding is if you are self-employed, you're still eligible. You would only have one employee. That's debatable. It depends on how your entity is set up and how you run your business, but that's still up in the air, hasn't been clarified. The other loan is the PPP. On that one, you know, they're saying that all of these are eligible for self-employed people, but what I'm hearing from bankers and CPAs and attorneys is that you do actually need to have a payroll, like a registered payroll. Like, for example, I actually do have a payroll. I operate through an S Corp and I pay myself a small salary, and that's, you know, what a reasonable salary is what you're required to do, and that's what I do. So I think I will qualify for part of my income. I know there's a lot of self-employed people in the last few years that have been switching to that model of using an S Corp and a reasonable salary. So that may come in handy. You may still be able to do that. That's just something you have to talk to your CPA about. What it sounds like to me is that if you don't have a payroll, unemployment as a self-employed person is probably the best way to look. So that's definitely something you can explore, go apply for. Sounds like it's going to be a good deal. That's $600 from the feds per week on top of the state benefits, which I don't know, maybe around 200. So could be good benefits on the unemployment side. And like I said, I think it's maybe the best option for self-employed people that don't have a payroll, because it seems like they're not being especially accommodating with the SBA loans that are coming out. And then I just wanted to share that I'm trying to stay on top of all this stuff, and I've got two really good sources of info that I will link to in this video in the description. One is Really Flow. They have an attorney who's really active in the real estate investing world, Jeff Watson, and they are doing, I think it's every Wednesday at 3. They do a webinar. I actually just got off of that, and they cover all the basics, but they also get kind of a couple levels above as far as sophisticated tax strategies, entity planning, legal structures. They really give you the stuff that's, you know, strategies to take advantage of everything that's in this bill, and stuff that you or I just would not think of unless you're in that world. So it's very next level stuff. Could be useful for some of you that are in higher tax brackets or higher net worth investors. And then the other one is kind of a more, it's some videos I've been watching where this guy, Meet Kevin, he has a YouTube channel, and he is putting out like 3 or 4 videos a day that are really breaking down exactly all the elements of the stimulus that you may be interested in. He's breaking down each part of it, and he's just putting out a ton of videos that I think do a good job of, one, staying on top of all the developments, and 2, breaking it down so that you can understand what it all means without all the legal jargon and that kind of stuff. So those are kind of the 2 sources you might want to check out. I will link to those in the description. And just a reminder, if you subscribe to my YouTube channel, I'll just pick one of my subscribers. I've only got like 10. So I'll pick one of them next Tuesday, and you'll win a $50 gift card to your favorite local restaurant. All you have to do is let me know which one you want to go to. And that's really it for today. So if y'all will just, thank you for tuning in. Y'all stay safe, and I will see you next week.